He's one of the most hunted leaders on the planet today. President Ibrahim Traore of Burkina Faso has become a prime target, not because he rules with an iron fist, but because he refuses to bow. From Washington to Paris, global powers are eager to see him removed. Within his own borders, political insiders and covert enemies scheme against him. Even some African leaders view him as a threat to the established order. But what's Traoré's real offense? He refuses to be controlled. He's challenged foreign dominance, reignited national pride, and prioritized Burkina Faso's sovereignty over foreign interests. And for that, powerful interests want him eliminated by any means necessary. But Traoré isn't standing down. Amid mounting threats, he's now tightening his inner circle with a sophisticated new security apparatus. So what exactly is this system? And what does it reveal about the kinds of battles he's bracing for? The timing is no accident. Major forces, both domestic and international, are working to remove Captain Ibrahim Traoré from the equation. How else can one explain it? No other African leader has endured more than 15 assassination attempts within just 2 years. From the moment he assumed power, Traoré has lived in constant vigilance. No pause, no safety. Only back-to-back coup attempts. This isn't regular politics. It's war. A war waged against a man who has come to symbolize something far greater than just a presidency. He's viewed as a threat, not for how he governs, but for what he represents. Some argue this is the typical chaos of military-led governments. But then consider this. Why haven't other military rulers in the Sahel, like those in Gabon, Chad, Mali, or Niger, faced the same relentless threats? What sets Traoré apart? He's more than a soldier, more than a head of state. He is the symbol of a revolution. In practice, he heads the alliance of Sahel states, EAS. In spirit, he leads a broader movement. It was Traoré who first announced that the Sahel wasn't just changing, it was rising. His speech at the Russia-Africa Summit struck a deep chord with Pan-African thinkers worldwide. His passion, his clarity, his unshakable resistance. That's what has rallied others to his cause. And that's exactly why he's now Africa's most targeted leader, dead or alive. April 16, 2025. A date that nearly changed the course of Burkina Faso's future. Another conspiracy. Another attempt to take out President Ibrahim Traoré. Although the coup attempt was unsuccessful, the danger hasn't disappeared. It has simply changed form. The forces that want President Ibrahim Traoré removed haven't given up. They're regrouping, strategizing, plotting their next move. And according to recent intelligence, they plan to strike again, this time before end of June 2025. So where did they go? They didn't just vanish, they crossed into a neighboring country, Ivory Coast, a country increasingly accused of working with France to undermine Burkina Faso's sovereignty. There, the conspirators were received, not as criminals, but as strategic partners. Under the quiet protection of Ivorian authorities, a new operations hub has been established. Their goal? To finish the job they failed to complete. But Traoré is not sitting idle. In response to this growing danger, the president has rolled out a sweeping counter-strategy. Insiders call it the lockdown doctrine. But it's more than just tighter security. It's a comprehensive overhaul of his inner circle. Personnel, protocols, priorities. Nothing is left to chance. Local sources describe this doctrine as a system where loyalty matters more than rank, and constant vigilance replaces traditional pageantry. The first and most crucial move, a complete overhaul of the presidential guard. This elite unit is responsible for protecting Traoré, and in an environment where betrayal can come from the inside, this step isn't just precautionary, it's essential. With tensions rising in Ouagadougou, one thing is certain. Traoré is actively bracing for the next wave of attacks. Consider this, if senior military officers were willing to turn against him, Who's to say traitors haven't already infiltrated his immediate security detail? Some of the defectors reportedly paid soldiers to sow discord within the ranks. It's very possible that some of those bribed troops were embedded within the presidential guard itself, a vulnerability Traoré cannot afford. To eliminate that risk, he made a bold decision to completely rebuild his presidential guard from the ground up. The unit was reorganized. Individuals under suspicion were quietly dismissed. In their place came only those whose loyalty had been tested and confirmed. But even loyalty wasn't enough. Every new guard member had to pass a deep and intrusive vetting process, far more intense than standard background checks. Investigators combed through school histories, family ties, political sympathies, and even foreign contacts. No detail was considered too small. Only candidates who cleared every level of scrutiny were granted the honor of protecting the president. Now, the presidential guard isn't just elite. It's trusted, carefully selected, mentally fortified, unshakably loyal. But Traoré didn't stop there. The betrayal of Barry Abdrahmane didn't just expose a disloyal individual. It uncovered a deeper critical weakness: Burkina Faso's communication systems. These outdated networks had allowed insiders to leak sensitive military data to hostile forces without detection. That vulnerability no longer exists. President Traoré has since modernized the nation's communications infrastructure, implementing encrypted systems capable of detecting and tracing suspicious transmissions in real time. From now on, any soldier who dares to leak classified information or plot treason will be tracked. And this time, there will be no second chances. As the threats continue to grow, Traoré has activated another layer of national defense, one that had been largely dormant: the Office of Internal Counterintelligence. Previously tasked with monitoring foreign threats, the agency now has a new and broader mission: looking inward. No one is off limits. Cabinet members, regional commanders, even local police officials are now under surveillance. Their political affiliations and loyalties are being thoroughly examined. And if anyone is found out of sync with Traoré's vision, they are swiftly reassigned, removed from positions of influence, relocated far from the capital and the centers of power. To some observers, these actions may seem harsh, even paranoid. But in a region where betrayal often starts from within, paranoia is sometimes the only defense. The past makes that clear. Thomas Sankara, Burkina Faso's revolutionary hero, was betrayed and terminated by his closest comrade, Blaise Compaoré, a trusted friend and fellow officer. Traoré has taken that lesson to heart. He's determined not to suffer the same fate. But his response goes beyond tightening control. He's turning to a more unconventional defense mechanism, one few outside the country truly understand: his quiet trump card. From the start of his leadership, Traoré established a civilian defense force, a grassroots militia made up of ordinary citizens prepared to fight for Burkina Faso's future. They are the VDP, the Volunteers for the Defense of the Homeland. Armed, trained, and fiercely loyal to the president, the VDP were initially formed to defend rural villages from terrorist attacks. But today, they've become much more than that. They now serve as a second national defense layer, a stabilizing force outside the traditional military. Free from colonial-era allegiances that still persist within segments of the army, the VDP represent a pure loyalty to the people and to the revolution. In the aftermath of the latest attempted coup, Traoré has repositioned the VDP not only as defenders of local communities, but as guardians of the revolutionary mission itself, and possibly as the last line of protection for the man who embodies it. Now reorganized and fully mobilized, the VDP have been strategically deployed across the country, including key military and administrative zones. Their presence is not just military, it's symbolic. Burkina Faso is drawing a line, and the people are standing on it. But the Volunteers for the Defense of the Homeland, VDP, aren't just standing guard anymore. They've evolved. Their new directive, to act as watchdogs, as informants. They now report any suspicious activities or irregular behavior directly to the presidency. Fiercely loyal to President Traoré, these civilian defenders have effectively become his eyes and ears on the ground across Burkina Faso. Their presence means that any plot, conspiracy, or act of betrayal can be intercepted before it gains momentum. What began as a volunteer force against terrorism has transformed into a national immune system, ready to detect and neutralize internal threats in real time. But Traoré hasn't stopped there. Under his guidance, the Ministry of the Interior has discreetly initiated a nationwide biometric tracking initiative. Publicly, it's framed as a civil registration campaign. But internally, its function is far more precise and far more powerful. Insiders within the intelligence community confirm that this system will monitor individuals flagged as potential threats, civilian and military alike. Those with any links to the April 16th coup attempt are now under tight surveillance. Their movements, associations, and even phone calls are being tracked. This marks the beginning of a new age of surveillance in Burkina Faso. And not everyone is comfortable with it. Critics, especially those outside the country, have taken to social media to accuse Traoré of drifting into authoritarianism, centralizing power through fear and advanced monitoring. But to Traoré's supporters, this backlash is predictable. They've seen the assassination attempts. They've watched the betrayals unfold. And in the words of Traoré himself, Burkina Faso is not a democracy. It is a revolution. And revolutions aren't built on comfort. They are forged through vigilance, sacrifice, and a will to survive. In Traoré's view, no great nation has ever achieved real development through democracy alone. The world's current powers, those leading in industry, science, and sovereignty, weren't born from ballots, but from bold revolutions and disruptive leadership. For Traoré, Burkina Faso is on a similar path. This is not a democracy, he declares. This is a revolution. And every revolution attracts enemies. Inside and outside the nation, there are those who resist what Traoré stands for, because what he represents is change, and they survive by maintaining the status quo. These are the same people who are content with Burkina Faso remaining one of the world's poorest countries, who accept the insecurity and violence plaguing its regions, who benefit from the corruption embedded in its systems. If they truly wanted progress, they wouldn't be working so hard to destroy the one man fighting to bring it. For Burkina Faso's elite, the ongoing instability means one thing: unlimited access to power and profit. For foreign actors, the stakes are even higher. A fragile state gives them direct entry into the country's mineral wealth and the broader riches of the Sahel, unchecked, unregulated. But the rise of Captain Ibrahim Traoré disrupted that arrangement entirely. With his bold ambition to transform Burkina Faso into a secure, sovereign, and industrialized nation, he threatens to shut the doors that global and local power brokers have held open for decades. And that's exactly why, from day one, they sought to eliminate him by any means necessary. Between his takeover in September 2022 and just a year later in September 2023, 4 coup attempts were made to unseat him. None succeeded. But in a surprising display of restraint, Traoré chose not to retaliate harshly. He spared the conspirators. No prison sentences, no public trials. Just a clear warning: walk away now or be swept away by what's coming. But that leniency was short-lived. By October 2023, 2 more coup attempts had followed in quick succession. This time, Traoré's patience ran out. There were no more warnings. Swift arrests were carried out. Investigations began immediately. From October 2023 through to September 2024, Burkina Faso found itself under relentless internal assault. The danger wasn't just from terrorists or foreign interference. It was embedded within its own institutions. One plot followed another. When the 10th coup attempt was discovered, the threat had evolved into something even more dangerous. This time, it wasn't just politics. It was terrorism. Intelligence traced the plan to former military government leader Paul-Henri Damiba, who had taken refuge in Togo. From exile, he coordinated with jihadist groups, allegedly received covert backing from authorities in Ivory Coast, and activated loyalists embedded in the Burkinabe military. The outcome was devastating. A calculated attack that resulted in heavy casualties among both military personnel and civilians. It was a grim reminder that the fight against Traoré is not just a struggle for political power. It's a battle for Burkina Faso's very future. Damiba's conspiracy ran deep. Military men, sworn to defend the nation, turned against it, collaborating with terrorists and using classified information to target Bartolago, a key town not far from the capital, Ouagadougou. The attack was savage. Hundreds lost their lives. The town was overrun. But the offensive wasn't just meant to win territory. It was designed to break spirits. A psychological strike to discredit Traoré's leadership, undermine his military reforms, and fracture unity within the armed forces. The ultimate objective: incite mutiny. Trigger disorder. Force a collapse. But the plan failed. Some conspirators were captured. The rest scattered. Time and again, foreign forces have been caught operating from the shadows, stirring unrest, bankrolling dissent, and turning betrayal into a political weapon. That's why President Traoré's sweeping security overhaul isn't just a response. It's a necessity. Because this is no longer about politics, and it's far from personal. It's war. A war against unseen enemies. Against traitors in the ranks. Against a global system that has long thrived off Burkina Faso's weakness. For Traoré, this isn't only about protecting himself. It's about safeguarding a vision. A vision of a liberated Burkina Faso. A nation finally free from external control and internal sabotage. And isn't it tragic, really, that a leader fighting for genuine change has to take such extreme measures just to survive? Why can't he be left to fulfill his mission? His path was never going to be easy. He's battling terrorism, managing internal divisions, and fending off coup attempts. With all these pressures, how can Burkina Faso ever truly win the fight against terrorism? But here's the thing, it's not just bullets and bombs. Traoré is also facing an invisible enemy, the media. And this, arguably, could be even more dangerous. Because the media shapes perception. A single headline from a powerful outlet can sway millions, distort facts, and fuel division. Those seeking to remove Traoré know this, and they're using it well. Lately, it feels like no African leader has been as relentlessly attacked as Traoré. Not just scrutinized, but actively vilified. The headlines aren't just critical, they're manipulative. They paint him as a dictator, a thief, a danger. But ask yourself, why this selective outrage? Whenever Western media covers Traoré, it's always negative. No mention of the reforms, the security restructuring, the fight for sovereignty. Just constant character attacks. Maybe it's not forgetfulness. Maybe it's strategy. Just a few weeks ago, the commander of AFRICOM made a bold accusation, claiming Traoré is using Burkina Faso's gold to protect himself. Really, that narrative doesn't hold up. From the beginning, Traoré has prioritized using the country's wealth to empower the people, not enrich himself. And even if some of that gold is funding national security, isn't that his responsibility? The man faces threats from every angle. Why shouldn't he ensure his own safety and that of the nation? Still, the criticism keeps coming. One Western article even accused him of looting national wealth. It would be laughable if it weren't so damaging. Because we've all seen what real corruption looks like in Africa. Presidents flying private jets, hoarding wealth overseas, shopping in Paris while their citizens starve. That's not Traoré. He's in military fatigues on the ground with his people, restructuring the army, reclaiming resources, shutting out foreign interference. And for that, they fear him. But Traoré, he's not cut from that cloth. If he were stealing, we'd see the signs. The designer suits, the luxury convoys, the marble mansions. But there's none of that. Traoré still dresses in fatigues, drives what he must, lies like the soldier he's always been. Grounded, focused, present. And let's not forget, if he were truly enriching himself, he'd be flying out like so many others, jet-setting to Europe while his people suffer. But he stays. He walks among the people, faces the danger, does the work. That's rare, and that's exactly why they fear him. These accusations about gold, corruption, ethnic targeting, they're not just lies. They're weapons, tools in an information war meant to destroy him. Remember the headlines. The ones claiming Traoré was targeting Fulanists, that he'd turned his military on a specific ethnic group out of frustration. It was everywhere. Protests erupted, especially among Burkina Faso in France. Some even demanded his resignation. But like the gold scandal, like the dictator label, it was all propaganda. Because if there had been such a campaign, journalists inside Burkina Faso, those who live it, see it, hear it, would have spoken out. But they didn't. Why? Because it never happened. Instead, the loudest voices came from outside. Commentators who've never set foot in Burkina Faso. Analysts who don't know the people. Media houses pushing narratives crafted in foreign boardrooms. And here's the problem. Many of our own people believe them. We, as Africans, must not stay silent. We can't let our brothers and sisters in the diaspora be misled by stories written an ocean away. It's on us to protect the truth. President Traoré isn't perfect. No leader is, but he's one of the few fighting for something real. Not just for Burkina Faso, but for Africa. And if he's taken out through a bullet or a coup, this revolution could die with him, and we might not see another leader like him for decades. Remember what happened after Thomas Sankara. He was assassinated, and for over 30 years, Africa waited. Waited for someone with that same courage, that same fire, that same refusal to bow. Now we have that someone, Ibrahim Traoré. He's more than just a president. He's a symbol. Proof that Africa can produce leaders who are patriotic, principled, and unshakable. But instead of rallying behind him, some of our own have turned against him. Sold their loyalty, not to their people, but to foreign interests. They're trying to destroy the very future they claim to care about. And perhaps the most painful betrayal, Ivory Coast, our neighbor, our brother, allegedly sheltering those who want to bring him down. But with these new security measures, maybe, just maybe, it'll be enough. Enough to protect him. Enough to protect the revolution. Enough to keep the dream alive. Tell us what you think in the comments section below, and do not forget to like and subscribe for more informative videos like this one. Thanks for watching.